Hello, welcome to the Amnify IoT webinars. We will wait a couple of seconds until other people have joined, and then we will start the session. Okay, I have seen that everyone joined, or that the attendees list is filling up. So let me start. So thanks again for joining the IoT webinar series. Every episode we talk about interesting subjects in the IoT space that will help you build better IoT products. My name is Christian Henke, and I'm the head of product at Amnify, and I will be hosting this webinar for you. Usually we have co-hosts from different partners, talking, for example, about cellular routers like last time, or cloud technology. So we had AWS visiting, or like things like batteries. This time it's going to be a little bit different because we wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about some features that we have recently launched. Especially when you're building your IoT product on Google, you should be carefully listening to this webinar. In order to show these features, I invited my colleague Konstantin Ernst. Konstantin Ernst recently joined us as a product manager and will be talking about the integration into the Google services, and will do a live workshop at the end of the webinar.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks, Konstantin. Okay, before I start, I want to give a little bit of background about Amnify. Amnify is a German startup. We were founded in 2014, went live in 2016 with a very special setup for IoT. So we launched a cloud-native platform, a mobile core and communication platform dedicated to IoT. We have now more than 100 employees in Berlin, Würzburg, and also in the Philippines. In general, we serve customers in the B2B and B2C world, especially IoT device manufacturers or solution providers. So businesses that sell IoT devices to their customers or offer a service in the IoT space. We have more than 1,200 enterprises in more than 75 countries, and currently have more than 10 million SIM cards, so devices managed on our platform. So just to give you one slide overview of what we do and what you're capable of doing if you work together with Amnify. One piece is the connectivity. So a very simple proposition. If you sell your IoT device in multiple countries, or even in a single country, you want to be sure that it perfectly connects to every network. And we basically provide connectivity in 180 countries and 540 networks. So basically, wherever you ship your device, you will be sure that it works on your customer side. But connectivity is not everything. If you want to build a scalable IoT product, you also need to think about how you can operate and manage everything around connectivity. So we have several features on our communication platform to integrate connectivity into cloud services like AWS, Azure, but also Google Cloud Platform, where we're talking about today, but also in other third-party services. Also, we have a rich API that allows you to steer everything on the connectivity side in your application, or automate processes. And this gives you a better way of handling basically anything around SIM cards, connectivity, but also policies that your customers are able to do with these SIM cards. And last but not least, the communication platform helps you also to better operate your devices when they are in the field, so that you have the full visibility of what's happening with your devices, that you can support your customers if there's something going wrong. And also this webinar will show you a couple of key integrations, what we do to help you better operate your products if you use connectivity. So With that, I would go to the real content of the webinar. And this is just a short agenda. Basically, we're going to talk about the different integrations that we have implemented for the Google Cloud Platform. And there are basically three key integrations. So the first one is how you will be able to build a distributed IoT platform with cellular connectivity. And the second one is how you can build up a secure private network between your device and your application. So, for example, that your support team can get remote access to the device in case of need. And the third integration is the connectivity data integration into the Google services. And Konstantin will be demonstrating how this is possible in a live demo workshop at the end of this webinar. So if you're already an Amnify customer, you can actually walk through this with Konstantin within this webinar. Everything, all the integrations are documented on our web page and easy to set up, but we just wanted to give the possibility to walk you through this. So let me go to the first integration. So if you want to build a distributed IoT platform, why would you want to do this? So a distributed IoT platform, for example, if you use the Google Cloud Platform and you want to sell your devices in Europe and in the US, then you need to think about if you want to build up a multi-region IoT platform. So if you have one cloud instance in Europe and the other one in Europe, so that your data stays local to your customers. So that, of course, reduces data loss and latency, but moreover, especially if you're thinking about Europe, it gives another level of trust if you can say, my data is not going anywhere else, it is staying in Europe, for example, or in Germany. And the third reason why you, of course, want to build a multi-region solution is because you also want to increase your service uptime and redundancy. So even in case there is your solution is affected in one of the regions of Google, that you're able to switch to a different region and that your service will work. So while it sounds like a feasible solution to build a distributed IoT platform with cellular, it's quite tricky. Yeah, so if you use Wi-Fi or things like this, where the connectivity is local, this is possible out of the box. But if you use cellular connectivity from a single operator, then there's actually one issue that's coming on, that's called home routing. So what is home routing? Home routing means that the operator, for example, if you use an AT&T and use that SIM card in Australia, then the data will be first routed back to the US and then will go to your application. And this makes basically everything screwed if you want to build a distributed IoT platform. So because Amnify has seen that in the beginning, we actually have deployed our communication platform in the major cloud regions. So we have a breakout region in US, in Europe, and Asia Pacific, and are extending our footprint from quarter to quarter, also to other continents and regions and countries. And that allows us actually to keep the data local. So if you have a device in US, then the data will be kept in US. If it's in Europe, it will be kept in Europe. And you might ask, okay, this is a great feature. Do I have to pay thousands of euros, or is it difficult to set up? No, it actually works out of the box. It's activated by default. Many of our customers, they don't even notice that this is active, and they can just be assured that their data stays local to their devices. And with that, I go to the second integrations that we have for Google. And this is a secure private network. So why do you need a secure private network, or what is it? A secure private network you might know from your home network, where you have a private network with your local LAN or Wi-Fi router. So your devices and your router, they have a private IP address. They can communicate with each other, but no one from the outside can talk to the devices or to the router. And this is, of course, a very strict security measure to have a private network for your solution. But moreover, it also gives you the possibility, if you establish a secure private network between your application and your devices, that you can remotely access the devices. So think about situations where your devices are at a customer and you would like to do an SSH login to the device to get, for example, remote logs, or to execute a command on the CAN bus that the device is connected to. Usually you would solve this by, for example, intermediate gateways, which with a VPN server on it, or with VPN clients directly on the device. But this means you would need to manage multiple VPN connections. With our Amnify Cloud Connect, it's actually one connection between your VPC to the Amnify communication platform, and then you will be able to remotely access all the devices. So even if you already have routers or gateways in between, then you would need to manage every connection between your VPC and the router. If you would take the Amnify Cloud Connect, you basically just establish one connection and have access to all the devices that are behind all your routers. The good thing is that this VPN is using cloud services, managed cloud services. That means you directly get redundant VPN tunnels and have a high service uptime. You don't need to worry about that there's, let's say, an issue and your data will be lost. All the VPN tunnels are also handled on our side in different cloud availability regions. So even if one of the region is not available, it will switch over and you will still be able to securely send your data or access your devices. And one nice thing about this secure private network is also that you can use your own private DNS. So instead of using a public DNS service, which is another attack surface, you can also use a Google service, for example, to run your own DNS, and then the address resolution will just be on private IP addresses. We're not going to talk about this integration. The how-to setup is described in our integration guides on the Amnify website. If you're interested to do that, you can write me an email and I can point you to that, or give you ideas how to set this up. Okay, and then today we have exactly this third integration where Konstantin is going to talk about, but I want to just give you a little bit of introduction why this is relevant for your IoT solution and what are the benefits out of it. So in general, your support team, if you start selling IoT devices with cellular connectivity included, you need to think about how do you properly support these solutions. In general, cellular connectivity is super reliable, but if you have thousands of devices in the field, it happens that there is an issue, or that there's maybe just some misconfiguration, like volume limits reached, or that you blocked a network where now the device is going to, and you want your support team or your operations team to be able to act up on this data. So everything is, of course, available in our communication platform, so you can look at it in our web portal. But if you are building your IoT solution on Google, you also want to have that data directly in your Google services, so it is integrated in your operational dashboards and in your operational flows. So if you, for example, have a mechanism to trigger an incident process if something is going wrong, or just that your support teams basically have a dashboard where all the data from device, application, infrastructure is shown, then you also, of course, want to have connectivity in there so that that your support team is able to directly see what's happening and what is the root cause. So here the integration of the Amnify communication platform happens through Google PubSub, through the Google PubSub service, and basically then gives you access to all the different Google services that are seen here. But let me just give you a little bit of, let's say, information of what kind of data we provide over this data streamer and what you can do with this, or what you can see out of it. So we have, let's say, three main pillars. One are network events. So events like PDP context. Yeah, so that's the technical term, but actually what it means is if the device is now online or if it went offline, you get information about which radio access type the device is using. Now, especially if you consider, let's say, the ongoing sunset of 2G, you want to have a clear visibility on which radio access type your devices are connecting. You have a visibility on the cell ID and location of the device. You can see if the EMI, so the device identity has changed, or if there are any success or errors on the data path or on the signaling path. So the signaling is everything that happens before actually the device is able to send data. So if you don't have any visibility on the signaling, you actually will not know if there is maybe an issue because the device will not be able to send the data to your application, and so you're not able to see what has been causing issues on the signaling path. Of course, we also provide, let's say, the basic usage data, everything about volume, cost, network, and country, so that you're able to see where your device has been consuming data, which network, very standard data that you also get from traditional solutions. And then you also have management events, things like SIM activations and suspensions, but also, for example, if you're using your own prepaid model to your customers, if the threshold is reached, if the account, the prepaid balance is used up, or if a pre-configured quota, the limit is reached, or if someone recharged the quota. So very rich events, and we are extending every time. Actually, I'm missing here one, which I forgot to add here. For example, we also have events for the Cloud Connect configurations and the VPN setup, so that you directly see when the services are properly set up, if they're reconnecting. So that gives you a clear visibility also on the private network piece, if everything is working smoothly. And with that, I just want to shortly introduce the workshop demo that Konstantin is going to present. So Konstantin is going to present how to integrate the data streamer, so all the connectivity metadata that I've just shown, into Google PubSub, and then how to store that data in Google BigQuery, and then how to display that data in Google Data Studio. So in a dashboard, for example, of key KPIs. And these KPIs we have selected in a way that we know that this will help your support team. And actually, they can then customize it based on their use case. The Data Studio integration is just an example. You can, of course, use any other Google service to use the connectivity data. For example, Google Function if you want to trigger a different workflow, or if you have different processing workflows or service flows in your Google platform, then you can, of course, also integrate the connectivity data through this Google PubSub integration. It's very easy to set up, and I will now hand over to Konstantin, who will take around 30 minutes just to walk you really step by step. So get your SIM card ready and log into Amnify portal. Then you can walk actually through this one by one. Okay, and with that, I will hand over to Konstantin.
Thank you, Christian, and welcome everyone from my side as well. My name is Konstantin, and today I will show you how you can integrate our Amnify data streamer into Google PubSub and store the data into Google BigQuery, which you can use as a data source to build powerful dashboards in Google Data Studio, displaying top device data consumption, devices with alerts, and also tables showing you the devices that have reached their monthly data limit or devices that have not sent data in the past 10 minutes, for example, despite sending data in the past hour. So we will go through 3 major steps. One is to integrate the data streamer into 2 Google PubSub topics, one for usage data, one for event data. We need 2 topics because BigQuery requires a table schema for the incoming data, so it knows how to store the data in what format, and those 2 schemas are different for usage and event data. So we need 2 separate tables, and each table needs a topic. Then we will create the data sets and tables in BigQuery after we've successfully created the topics, and then we will move on to Google Data Studio and build a dashboard similar to this one. So let's head over to the Google Cloud Platform. Here I've already created a project called Amnify Device Data. You will need to create your own project. Once you've done that, you can navigate to PubSub topics. And as I said, we will need to create 2 separate topics, one for usage data and one for event data. I will start off with usage data by clicking Create Topic and naming it Webinar Usage Data. Okay, that looks good. Now what we need to do is we need to add a member to this topic. This member basically allows or is capable of publishing the incoming data from the data streamer into this topic. So we need to click Add Member. In this field, we need to enter the following. We need to go to the data streamer to PubSub integration guide on the Amnify website. We need to scroll down to this point right here and copy this line of text, paste it into here, and we need to select a role for this member. As I said, it needs to be a PubSub publisher. Great, can hit save. And now what we need to do is we need to actually create a data stream, and therefore we need to go to the Amnify portal and go to the technical settings page, which you can access by clicking on this icon here. And this shows you the current application tokens and the running data streams. We need to click Add New Stream, add Google PubSub, and this requires us to specify the topic and the project. So we can go back to our topic we just created and copy this topic name, which contains both topic and project. Go back to the streams. This last bit is the topic, and this bit in between is the project we're in right now. And it is important, since we're doing the usage data topic, that we select stream usage data here. You can hit create. Running indicates that the stream is successful. And if we go back here, this should soon show that there's data. We can also view the messages, so the incoming data, by clicking View Messages and creating a subscription. We will call the subscription Webinar Usage Data Subscription, and we need to make sure it's a pull type, and we can leave all of the other default settings as they are. Press Create. Subscription successfully added. That is good. We can close this tab and go back to our topic, and now we just need to refresh, and here we see the subscription we just created. And if we click pull, then it should start displaying incoming messages. This might take a minute or two. Here we see the first message of the first usage data. Great. Okay, the webinar usage data topic is done. Now we need to do the same for event data. So again, click create topic. I will name it webinar event data. We need to again add a member that is allowed to publish the data from the data streamer. Therefore, we go back to the integration guide, copy this line, paste it here, and select the role of PubSub publisher. Hit save, updating policy. Now we go back to our Amnify portal. We add another data stream for Google PubSub, and this time we need to select stream events and stream all events. We go back to the topic, copy down the name, and insert it here. Select the topic and the project. Make sure there's no spaces. Yep, this is correct. Stream events, we create. Okay, also running, that is good. Again, we can view the messages by creating a subscription. I will call this subscription webinar event data subscription. Make sure it's a pull type as well, and leave all the other details as they are. Click create. Okay, subscription was successful. And we can close this tab again and hit refresh here on our topic. Select the just created subscription and click pull. Again, this might take a minute for events to come in to the topic. Here we see the events. Great. So that verifies that we successfully integrated both the usage data stream and the event data stream. So what we do now is we navigate to BigQuery. We need to select our current project, Amnify device data. And now we need to click on create dataset. I will start off with creating a dataset and table, etc. for usage data first, and then repeat the steps for event data. We will name this dataset webinar usage data, and we can leave all of the other default settings as they are. Create dataset, and then we need to click on the dataset and create a table. We will name this table usage records, and now we need to enable edit as text, and here is where the schema comes into play that I mentioned before. This schema is required so BigQuery knows in what format to store the data. And if we go to the integration guide for Google BigQuery, we can scroll down and find this link. This will lead you to this page where the schema for usage data can be found. So we just select it all, copy it, and paste it into this field right here. This looks good. Just making sure it's the right one. And then we hit create table. Great. So in order for the data to be extracted from PubSub, the topic, we need into the BigQuery table right here, we need a data flow job. And this data flow job in turn needs a storage container to temporarily save the files. So what we're going to do now is we're going to first create a storage container called bucket, and then we will create the data flow job for our usage data stream. And after we've done that, we will do the same for event data. So we want to head over to storage. Great. Now we can click create bucket. We will name this bucket webinar usage data storage. And if we click continue, we can also select the location type. I will select Europe, and you can click create. Okay, looks like that was successful. Now we need to create a folder for the temporary files to be stored in. I will call this BigQuery_temp. Okay, and now we can navigate to data flow. And here we will click create job from template. We will call this job webinar usage data to BigQuery, and choose Europe as a region or whatever region you would like. And we need to select the data flow template, and here it is important to select pub subtopic to BigQuery because we want to stream the data from our usage data topic to our BigQuery table. And now we need to fill out some required parameters. Therefore, we go back to the BigQuery integration guide and scroll to this point right here, and where we can copy the lines right here into these fields. And we need to replace my project name with our project name, in my case, Amnify device data. And the topic that we created was webinar usage data. For this field, we go back and we pick this line right here, paste it in here again, replace my project name with mine, Amnify device data. And this is the dataset name in BigQuery we created, and this is the table name. So this looks good. Webinar usage data was our dataset, usage records was our table. And for this, we need to specify the temporary location, which is the folder in the bucket we just created. So we go back to the integration guide, pick this, and paste it into here, and then replace my bucket name with webinar usage data storage. And the folder name is already correct. So let's see if we have everything correct. Everything looks good. Now we can hit run job, and this will initialize the job. Now this might take 1 or 2 minutes. So now we need to do the whole thing again for event data. So we go back to BigQuery, select our project, click create dataset, name the dataset this time webinar_event data, click create dataset. Now we need to click on the dataset and create a table. We will name this table event records. And now we again need to enable as text. Go to the BigQuery integration guide and click on the link that is provided right here for under the event data setup, which will lead you to this page. And we select everything copy and paste it into this field right here. Yep, event data, that looks good. And then we can click create table. Okay, so again, now we need a data flow job that transports the stream data from our topic to BigQuery, and this data flow job needs a storage container. So we go to storage. We need to create another bucket. We'll call this webinar event data storage. Click continue, select the region we would like. I will click Europe and then hit create. Okay, that was successful. Now we need to create a temporary folder. A folder for temporary files. I will name it again BigQuery temp. Okay, looks good. Now we will head over to data flow. Same procedure as with usage data. We will click create job from template. Call this job webinar event data to BigQuery. Select a region and select the data flow template, which has to be pub subtopic to BigQuery. Now we again go back to the integration guide and copy this information into these required fields and replace my project name with my current one. And the topic for event data is called webinar event data. That looks good. Now we will copy this into the BigQuery output table field and replace all of the parameters. Endnify device data. The data set for event data was called webinar event data, and the table is called event records. Now we need to specify the temporary location, so we go back to the integration guide, copy this, and paste it into here, and replace my bucket name with our bucket name, webinar event data storage, and the folder name looks correct. Let me check if I have any mistakes. Nope, everything looks good. Okay, we can hit run job. Okay, the stream is starting. This might also take 1 or 2 minutes. In the meantime, the stream for usage data should have been completed. So what we can do now is go back to BigQuery. And we can query this table to see if the data has arrived in it. So what we will do is write okay, great. We see that the data is in the table for usage records, showing the SIM ID, SIM ICC ID, what kind of traffic it is, traffic type, and the volume for the specific SIM ID in total, or just data volume and SMS volume, what operator we're using. And yeah, looks good. We can try the same for event data if the data flow job has already been successfully created or finished with initializing. Okay, so the job is still initializing. That's good. We can check on it. Okay, this is running, that's good, and there are no error logs, so this will just take a little more time, which is fine. In the meantime, since there were no error logs, we can assume that we did everything correct. So now we're moving on to our final step, which is creating the dashboard in Data Studio. So what you want to do is you want to go over to Google Data Studio. This is the starting page. You want to click blank report or create. I have already created a basic report with titles for the graphs that we're about to do. You need to edit these titles as text boxes, so that would take some time now. Okay, now we need to add data to this Google Data Studio dashboard. So you want to click Add Data, and you want to select BigQuery here. Select the project, select the data set, and select the table. And then click Add. Add to report. Okay, that's good. Now we need to do the same thing for event data. So again, we click on Add Data, click on BigQuery, select the project, select this time event data dataset, and select event records, and click Add Data. Add to report. Okay, now that we are in Data Studio, we need to add a chart. And first one we'll do, as I said, is the top 10 device data consumption. So I will add a bar chart right here. For this graph, we need to make sure that the data source is usage records. If it should say event records right here, we need to delete it and then click Add Data Source and select usage records. I will have the and timestamp as a date range dimension with hourly granularity. The dimension should be the sim ICCID, that is correct, and the metric should not be record count, but should be volume r.rx, because we want to have data only. That looks good. You can also rename the metrics right here to have better looking graphs, for example, data volume. Okay, if you want to have the same for SMS consumption, you can simply copy and paste this table, because the only thing you need to change is the metric, which is volume.tx for SMS consumption. Okay, looks good. We can also change this to SMS volume. Okay, moving on, we will create another bar chart for devices with the most alerts, and I will select a horizontal bar chart like this. By the way, if you have more than 3 devices right here, you can also limit the amount of bars shown by clicking into the Style tab and selecting the amount of bars you want to be displayed, you want to have displayed. Okay, but moving on with the alerts chart. This chart requires the data source event record, so we need to delete the usage records right here and click event records. The dimension we need is sim ICCID, and the metric we want is alerts. And now we see that this device with the sim ICCID has 2 alerts currently, and these 2 have 1 alert. If you want to change the x-axis to make a little more sense, because of course you can't have 0.5 alerts, then you can select or type a custom tick interval for the x-axis. I will set to 1. Okay, and of course you can also change the color of your graphs and format them however you want. Good, that looks good. Now what we want to do is create an area chart and to display the consumption of each device over time. And for that I will click add a chart and select area chart, put it right here, stretch it out a bit to fit into my schema. What we need for this is we need the data source usage records, so we need to click delete here on the event records and select usage records. Then we will add a date range dimension from end timestamp and change the type to date hour. The dimension here also needs to be end timestamp, and this time I will change to the granularity of date hour minute because we've just created the usage data stream and it's not been over an hour, so a minute granularity makes more sense for display right now. The breakdown dimension should be sim_ICC_ID, that is correct, and the metric here should be volume total. Okay, that looks good. Now we can create a table that displays devices that have reached their monthly data limit. So I will click add data chart and select table. This table needs a data source event record, so we need to delete usage records right here, select event records. And you can add the sim_ICC_DI as a dimension or the endpoint ID, which is the device. And we will add also a date range dimension, timestamp. That looks good. As the metric, we don't need a metric. What we do need is a filter for the type of event. So the reaching their monthly data limit is a specific event. So we need to filter for that event to filter out the devices that have these events. So what you want to do is you want to scroll down in this data panel and click add a filter, create a filter, and set it to include, select a field, select description, and we need to select a condition which equals to, so we want to have the description equal to, and now we need to paste in the description that we want. So we want to head over to our BigQuery integration guide, and pretty much at the bottom, at the explanation for this type of table, we need to copy this text and paste it into here. Make sure there's no spaces that I've left. Nope, that looks good. And we can hit save. And now this filter is applied and we see that the device with the endpoint ID 10431414 has reached its monthly data limit, which is good or bad. Okay, now we can create a table that displays devices that have not sent data in the past 10 minutes, but that have sent data in the past hour, indicating that the devices are still online, but something else might be wrong and they're not sending data. This you would normally not see because this does not generate an event. So this table is quite useful. And for that, we need another data source where we need a custom query that queries our event data table in a specific way. For that, we need to click on add data. We need to select BigQuery, select custom query, select our project. And in here, we need to paste the following query, which you will find on our data streamer to BigQuery integration guide. It's this one. What this query does is basically it subtracts the two groups of devices, one that have sent data in the past 60 minutes, for example, and then you subtract the devices that have not, or that have sent, that have sent devices in the past 10 minutes, which leaves you with the devices that have sent in the past hour, but not in the past 10 minutes. So we will select this text and go back to Data Studio and paste it into here. What we need to still change is the dataset name to our current dataset name. So webinar event data is the dataset, and event records is the table name. That looks good. Yeah, so we can click add. Oh, yep, add data to report. Okay, so what we want to do now is click add chart, select table once again, put this table right here. And here for this table, we need to select the right data source. So this is already the correct one, but just for demonstration purposes, this was not the correct one. We need to click select data source and select BigQuery. Okay, so now the dimensions, we can add ICC ID and ID, which is the endpoint ID. I will rename that, or to device ID. Okay, and now what we need to do is we need to select the date range dimension as event minute. And since the query has already queried all the devices that have not sent data in the past 10 minutes, but in the past hour, we can simply delete the metric, and this is already done. So the device with the SIM ICC ID or the endpoint ID of 10431414, which is also the one that reached this monthly data limit, that has been already not sending data for the past 10 minutes, but in the past hour, verifies that this table is also correct. Yeah, and that is pretty much it. Thank you very much.
So thanks for this demonstration. This was really helpful. And now I forgot to mention it in the beginning. Of course, we have a Q&A session at the end, so you can ask questions right away. There we go. Yeah. So if you use your Google as your platform, you have seen the integrations. Of course, you can do anything with the data. So I really like the example of having a report of the devices that have not been sending data over a defined period of time, but have sent data before. So that directly gives you insights about devices that are erroneous, right? If you know that they're sending every 10 or every 15 minutes heartbeat, and they have not been doing this for 1 or 2 periods, then you directly get this report. So you can directly configure this with these queries and these integrations, and with that, give it a start. So now it's time for questions. I have seen one already during the webinar. Do you split volumes, megabyte and SMS between in and out? So in SMS, it would be mobile terminating and mobile originating, and volume RX and TX. Konstantin, do you?
Yeah, that is correct. So the volume Rx would be the sole data consumption, and then volume.tx would be the sole SMS consumption.
Exactly. Then let's see if there's more questions. This question. Okay, can you customize the different intervals that you query, or which you query the different KPIs?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that you can. There's a lot more you can do with BigQuery. It's heavy on the SQL, but for this demonstration, we just used the basic SQL for the devices that have not sent data in the past 10 minutes. But you can do a lot more with this. This was just to get you started.
Okay. Okay, so I think we're already also quite on top of the hour. Thank you for joining this webinar. Konstantin, thanks for this great demo. It was really well prepared, very good to understand. And yeah, looking forward to to how you apply the solution for your IoT product. And we wish you all a great holiday season. This is the last webinar for us this year. But next year, we actually already have scheduled another webinar with ST Microelectronics. You will get an email, of course, with this recording and of this webinar, and maybe also already with a link to the ST Micro, or you will hear from us via email. Okay, then with this, I will close the session. And again, thank you and see you again. Bye.
See you, everyone. Thank you.